Hello everyone with us here today from blackberryos.com. We are at BlackBerry Jam Americas 2012, and I'm here with SVP Sebastian Marino Mess, and we're going to talk a little bit today, about what he does. You can go ahead and start it off.
Sure. Well,
why don't you tell the viewers?
Yeah, sure. First, thanks for having me. It's great to be here. I hope you're having a good show.
Yes,
it's pretty awesome.
Definitely awesome.
Yes,
a lot of stuff going on.
A lot of energy, a lot of cool things that we're showing.
Very much. Yeah.
So let's. I think one of the things you wanted to talk about is just the history of QNX, RIM, BlackBerry OS.
Yeah, why don't we do that? Why don't you just go ahead and tell everybody, start off and just say, kind of what you do, so they have an idea. I know you're kind of one of those guys that's kind of you're major. A lot of people don't, might not necessarily know you, but you have such a big part to do with the company and the history in QNX, and now with the BlackBerry OS, since you've been brought on, with BlackBerry and RIM. So why don't you tell everybody just real quickly what you do, and,
Sure.
And then we'll go from there.
Sure. So I came up through the QNX acquisition. I've been working at QNX and RIM for actually 14 years, over 14 years now, and did QNX engineering. I was responsible for engineering at QNX when we were acquired by RIM. That was in June 2010. And since then, obviously, we've had this marriage of QNX, RIM, and other acquisitions that RIM has made, and that's been the foundation for BlackBerry 10. So the part that I'm responsible for now is what we call BlackBerry OS. Great name.
Great name. And if you notice here, this fine young man is wearing this shirt. I mean, it just looks so much better on him than it does me. So I'm sorry.
So, and that's really, when you think about it, it's really all of the core operating system, a lot of the the headless pieces that are somewhat invisible in the system that kind of power the entire device. And then we have another group that's responsible for applications, cascades, UI, and so on.
And you're like a visionary, I like to say. I talked to you a little bit earlier at the event, me and you, and you were at Mobilize last week, right? San Francisco. I know you're there with some of the other guys, and you were I read a few articles about it, and you were talking about integration in BlackBerry. So you mentioned something about a swimming pool. It was insane. Something about like your swimming pool heater and the refrigerator and everything, with your device and working all in tow with each other, and just that type of level integration for people. Why don't you just kind of brush on that a little bit for us?
Sure.
I know it's a huge topic. What do you think about it? Like what?
Yeah. So the first thing I'll say is I have a great team that works with me. So I can't take credit for all of the ideas.
Yeah.
But I think part of the vision that we're really pushing when we talk about mobile computing, it's really about I like to call it ubiquitous computing. Computers that surround you, not just your handset, but things like cars, and you talk about refrigerators, like home control, medical devices, you name it. Having them, they're all running really complex software, and we want them to fully integrate together, right? So what you really want as an experience is like this seamless life where you don't have to, when you're in your car, you don't actually have to pull your handset, like your cell phone, and actually look up the address of where you're going and type it back into your car, right? You want those computers to all talk to each other and kind of make it completely seamless, like basically invisible, right? So that it becomes unconscious. They just work for you. And that's really one of the big things that we were talking about last week. What are the steps that are needed as an industry to achieve that? And a lot of it is more about how you it's less about the technology that you need, and it's more about how you get standards that allow all these devices to communicate smartly.
And we talked about also, in this idea, because you have BlackBerry, you have Android, you have Apple, you have all these, Microsoft. So who ends up trying to set the standard? Does everybody have to agree, or do you just, kind of tree out on your own there?
I think if we really want to achieve this vision, this ubiquitous computing vision where everything works together, you have to recognize that it's a heterogeneous world. Like it's not going to be one player that basically has hardware and software that runs on every computer that you own. Like Apple's never going to go and build a car, for example. Right. So you have to accept that it's going to be, there's going to be different software platforms, and the standards have to transcend that. So which really means it can't be one company pushing it. It has to be like in the same way that the World Wide Web is is run by W3C, which is an independent organization. I think you need the same to apply to interoperability between devices.
Right, and almost it seems like as QNX is so everybody knows that you're into the medical already, you're into a lot of these areas already, so. Why not have BlackBerry be
the platform everywhere?
The platform
that's
that sets it up that everywhere, which is great. I think that's awesome. I also want to ask you about you were talking about the iPhone like being too closed and Android being too open to achieve different levels of integration that they might be able to catch this. And what would you tell people that are on the fence about BlackBerry right now? What would you tell them? About BlackBerry 10 in regards to why it would be the best platform to choose over the others?
So I think if you look at, so my comment around closed and open was really in the context of this ubiquitous computing, right? If you want to achieve this vision.
The integration,
That's
you were
right.
just expanding on that.
Yeah, like Apple is really closed, so their devices work together, but they don't really work very well with the rest of the ecosystem.
Right.
Android is actually very open, which is great for innovation, but it causes so much fragmentation that it's hard to even create an app that runs on every Android device, let alone having it integrate with the rest of the world, right? Because it's so fragmented.
Right.
When I think of BlackBerry 10, we've done a few things in the platform. One of it is we're really big believers in open standards, and the second is if you look at the developer communities that we're embracing, we have support for Cascades, Qt, C++, we have support for web, we have support for Air, we have support for Android development. So really embracing these different developer communities to bring applications to the platform, giving them choice.
And that's when we're here with the developer event, and that's awesome. It's been. I've seen it expand. The websites have changed. They've been. Everything's been great as far as that aspect goes, and that's super awesome.
Yeah. I think another point, when you say why would you choose BlackBerry 10, I think the other focus that you've seen is really around the experience. Right, if you look at BlackBerry 10 and the reinvention of the user interface, the navigation paradigm, flow, the hub, and so on, that's really, I think, one of the key things, like the key innovations that we're really bringing to with BlackBerry 10.
I'm just going to show everybody here real quick. I got my Dev Alpha A device, so I was messing around with that. Super awesome, and I love how you guys released so much, to the developer community, the API access, the giving people BBM. I know there's some people who have already 20, 30, 40, 50 contacts, and they're just ready to rock with it, and a lot of excitement.
I think, again, it shows our commitment to the developer community.
Oh, it does, big time, yeah. Yeah, we appreciate that, definitely. Let's go to the next question. I wanted to ask you, I heard you have some site on NFC, maybe some different views on NFC. What do you think about it? We got it in BlackBerry 10. What do you think about NFC? And do you think that's where we need to go, or do you think that's where we need to stop with NFC? Do you think there's something else out there that's going to replace it?
I think it has its place.
Yeah.
Right. I think you're going to see a lot of apps being built on top of NFC going forward. I think there will be other ways to other ways to basically connect devices and establish a relationship between them that will go beyond NFC. So I think NFC is one of the mechanisms.
Like maybe a step along the way.
It's a step along the way. Will it be used for payments? Sure. Like there's a range of applications for NFC.
Yeah.
If you think of using NFC to tap and transfer contacts or create a relationship with someone, that's a great mechanism. I think we'll continue to see other ones.
So going back to this integration now, we talked about just a couple questions ago. So you think NFC, that's kind of the step along the way, and then there would be something else that would be able to compile all this integration together. And
I think ultimately, if you go to the end state, and it may take us many years to get there as an industry, you're not going to want to actually have to use NFC to tap, like when you get into your house, to basically get your get your home panel to recognize you, right? You're going to want this network of computers to just actually know that you drove up in the driveway and it's you that's going into the house, and it can turn off the alarm system on its own.
So maybe like a GPS type thing or some kind of something,
Right, like the reality is when you're in your car, your car knows where you are, and your smartphone knows where you are, and it typically knows who you are. So why not use all of that information smartly?
Yeah, that's a great point. So,
but it may take us as an industry to get everything integrated and everything working. It may take us, it will take us a few years.
Okay.
And I'm sure we'll invent a lot of other things along the way.
Yeah, and we're excited that we're going to be along for the ride. So, let's go ahead and wrap it up. I want to
Great.
thank you, Sebastian, for being with us today. I appreciate it.
It's my pleasure.
And this has
Thank
been
you.
Joe with BlackberryOS.com. Thanks for listening in, and we'll see you guys more at the event.